Hello and welcome. Today we've got Penny L.A. Shepherd. And today we are going to be discussing the Foo Fighters, Studio 666, and Taylor Hawkins. May he rest in peace. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nickveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview. Unless, of course, myself and Penny can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Penny, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Very good. I've just been researching busily as possible. I do report on satanic Hollywood, so I call myself the Hollywood dark journalist. And I've been writing about Hollywood for the last 5 years. I was a part of Hollywood for over 50 years. As a singer, I had my own bands. I was also represented by agents, so I agented myself and also had agents and managers. And I'm also a writer, and I was trained actress. I was trained at Stella Adler Conservatory of Acting, and I've done stage productions as well. And I walked away from Hollywood, and then I found out that my brother, who slept with me in the 90s, is my agent. He was my former agent. And so I found out he was my brother. So I have been researching, finding out things about myself. In my research, I decided that I was going to start writing about the entertainment industry, and I deem it as the military-industrial entertainment complex. So you've heard of the military-industrial complex, but it's actually, they work in conjunction with the entertainment industry, which is covertly run by the deep state. So I just put it all together and just say that it's the military-industrial entertainment complex because of the fact that they work with one another. And the Mockingbird media is part of that. So when you see reports that are being leveled back at you with Mockingbird rapidity, that is part of the entertainment industry. When you're watching movies that have covert messages in them, or you're listening to music that has covert and overt messages in them, this is part of the entertainment industry. When you're looking at someone who's playing sports, this is part of the entertainment industry. When you're listening to your news, this is part of the entertainment industry. When you're reading a book, this is all part of the entertainment industry. So I also report on that, and I call it the MEC, M-I-E-C, Military Industrial Entertainment Complex. So this week I've been working on the death of Taylor Hawkins, who was the drummer for Foo Fighters. He died on March 25th in Bogota, Colombia. And I've done a bunch of slides, so I'm going to read some of the things that I have from my PowerPoint presentation. So Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins, 1972 to 2022. He was 50 years old. And I found it interesting in my research that the Studio 666 is a movie that the Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl, is the head of the Foo Fighters. And Dave Grohl, incidentally, worked in Nirvana with Kurt Cobain, who killed himself. So he's very acquainted with death in this sphere. The story is very complex. I can't even do this in the time that we have available, but I'm going to go through a couple of the slides just to give you an idea. So Oliver Taylor Hawkins was born in Fort Worth, Texas, February 17, 1972. His family moved to Laguna Beach. I lived in California for almost 38 years. I gigged in Laguna Beach, and my brother David, who was murdered because he wrote a book entitled The Whistleblower about the Vatican, Bush, and my evil deep state family. He used to play basketball at Laguna Beach. So Hawkins had a brother named Jason, a sister named Heather. He graduated from Laguna Beach High School, and he joined the Foo Fighters at age 25. 25 years later, at the age of 50, he's dead. So he was an American musician widely known as the drummer for the rock band Foo Fighters, with whom he recorded 8 studio albums between 1999 and 2021. Before joining the band in 1997, he was the touring drummer for Sass Jordan and also for Alanis Morissette, as well as a drummer for progressive experimental band Sylvia. Now, he had a drug problem, but I found this interesting. He got married in 2005 to his wife, Allison. So Allison is now a widow. And interesting also, in the Studio 666, he has one of the studio album that they put forth as a fictitious band, which is actually their band, I believe it's Widow something. I'll have to look at it. But now, very interestingly enough, he is acquainted with two widows, Courtney Love from Nirvana, and then also now his former drummer. Hawkins had a drug problem. He states even though he overdosed on heroin in August of 2001, which left him in a coma for 2 weeks, that he wasn't a junkie per se, but he was partying. He says this, and I find this interesting because could this have been what happened to him in Bogota? This guy gave me the wrong line with the wrong thing one night, and I woke up going, what the F happened? Well, Taylor, did another guy give you the wrong line with the wrong thing in Bogota, Colombia, cocaine capital of the world? He died in Chapinero after suffering chest pains at the Casa Medina Hotel. It gets very interesting because of the fact that he had a long bout with drugs, and according to the Attorney General, it's interesting because what Dave Grohl did was he mandated vaccinations for all of his shows. Okay, so everyone in the crew had to have the jibber jab. Everyone in the band had to have the jibber jab. Okay, and interestingly enough, before Ricky Schroeder protested outside of one of the Foo Fighters venues, he is an anti-jibber jab individual, and a couple of months later, when they opened at Madison Square Garden, they dedicated their show. They opened, I think, on June 20th, and they dedicated their show to their stage manager, who's been their stage manager for something like 12 years, because he died in mysterious circumstances. And this is now, this was July or June, and this is now April. That was in 2021. And there's been no COD, no cause of death announced for that stage manager. So there are allegations out there that, Taylor Hawkins actually died from results from the jibby jab. Now, also there's allegations that that the man from Full House, he died. They say that he died from, also, they said that he had it. He announced it. He had the big C, and then he died, and he also had an enlarged heart. Now, he was overweight, and it was Bob Saget. Okay, he was overweight. They also said that he had some brain bleed and some strikes on the back of the head. So we don't know what caused that. Is it possible that after the third, that it enlarges the heart? They said when they did the autopsy on Taylor, they said his heart was enlarged substantially. Now, he was an athlete, unlike Saget. Saget was a comedian, and he wasn't not the most fit individual. But Taylor Hawkins was a drummer. I know because I was singer for, majority of my life, that you have to be physically fit to be able to stand on that stage. It's a long athletic journey. So Taylor was a drummer, which that's the most, athletic thing that you can do on the stage. So he was physically fit, even though he was an avid heroin user and a cocaine user. He still was fit. So why was his heart enlarged? I can't say because I'm not a doctor, but there are allegations that perhaps that led to something that he would normally be not immune to, but that he would be used to, or was he in fact killed? Is it possible that since Dave Grohl came out with Studio 666, which is about the band leader himself being demon possessed and killing all of his band members, which, by the way, he kills Taylor with a cymbal, right? Because he's a drummer. So he whacks him with a cymbal and he decapitates him. Well, interestingly enough, when you're saying that he killed him with a cymbal, and that's a phraseology, their symbols will be their downfall, right? So go ahead. Do you have a question?
I was going to say, you think, why do you think, in your opinion, that they wanted him killed?
Well, because he started a new band. Now, he had been involved in many, many projects, but this one, they were from band members that he was very well acquainted with. One of them, he worked with, I think, in Atlanta Morissette's band, and he on this album he came out with a single that, let me see if I can find it. It was basically saying, don't look back, I'm done, and I'm tired of arguing about the songs. Let me see if I can find that one. Let me see. Okay, so he started a band with Dave Navarro. Dave Navarro was Red Hot Chili Peppers. And so he started a band, NHC, featuring Jane's Addiction members, Dave Navarro. So Dave started with Jane's Addiction, then he went to Red Hot Chili Peppers. And Chris Chaney, alongside with Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins, they formed NHC. They released the official lyric video in September of 2021 for the song "Better Move On."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, do you think it was the Jabadoo that took him out, or do you think that he was intentionally taken out by somebody in the group without the Jabadoos?
No, they all had to have it. I think it was a combination. It's never, when people ask me, is it this, is it this, is it this? It's quite frequently, it's not just one thing. It's, is it A, B, C, or D, all of the above? I'm going to say all of the above. I believe that the jibber jab was a contributing factor. However, let's see if I can go back to the...
While you're looking for that, also, I want to also address that there are many footballers who have, been taken out because of, the Jabadoos. And they're very fit, like you mentioned, with the drummer who's constantly on stage. And being a drummer, you've got to have strength,
Yes.
and rhythm. And it's like you said, you have to be fit for that.
I mean, he's not a normal drummer. He's not just like, he is a powerhouse drummer.
He's not a rock and roll drummer.
Right. He's a powerhouse drummer. And he was working for Dave Grohl, who was also a drummer. Dave was the drummer for Nirvana. Okay. So when Kurt Cobain died, and there's questions about how Kurt died. So that's like some of the PowerPoint that I did, because it's very, very in-depth and very lengthy. So Bob Saget was triple jibber jabbed. Okay. And it says that he had an enlarged heart. It revealed the autopsy. And social media is saying that the jibber jab caused his death. Controversy surrounded the death of comedian Bob Saget after the autopsy revealed he had COVID-19, an enlarged heart with 95% blockage on one side. Several anti-jibber jabs questioned if the brain bleed and enlarged heart were caused by the jibber jab and booster shot administered to the actor. So he was 65 years old. He was part of a stand-up tour. He performed at a show in Jacksonville, and hours later he's found dead in his hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, Florida. Also, there was a door, an adjoining door that was unlocked. No one was in the room, but is it possible that somebody came through the room or left through there, was in his room and then left through that door? I don't know. I don't know how good a job that they're going to do when they're doing their inquest, because I've seen some very bad police work in which they're obfuscating the crime scenes to basically manufacture the evidence that they desire. So, and in regards to that happening to Taylor, I'm going to say that it was perhaps a contributing factor. I don't know. I'm not an ME. And I also know that we're not getting the truth from the MEs. According to the Attorney General of Colombia, 10 substances were found in Hawkins, including antidepressants, benzodiazepines, and opioids. The National Institute for Legal Medicine continues to conduct the necessary medical studies, this is in Rolling Stone, to ascertain the cause of death. The office wrote in a tweet on Saturday, the Attorney General's office will continue to investigate and will duly inform the findings of forensic examinations in due time. So there are many people also, he was pretty well known and very beloved, that wrote and honored him One of the people was Rage Against Machines, Tom Morello, Jane Addiction's Perry Farrell, Miley Cyrus was a Foo fans, and I think she was actually on that same circuit, that tour circuit. Slash wrote to him, said his death left him devastated. He has no words. Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater drummer, Ozzy Osbourne, producer Steve Albini, and then also God, I keep forgetting his name. We just talked about him. His co-star who played Jesse also was a drummer and knew him, and they were up for a Geico commercial together. And he didn't get the commercial, more than likely probably because of his drug use, because he was very unreliable. And you can see in interviews with him and Dave Grohl that Dave Grohl is the focal point. So why would Taylor finally just say, hey, I'm done with this. I'm tired of, you always overshadowing me. I'm tired of you yelling at me. And as a matter of fact, in the movie in Studio 666, again, Dave Grohl plays the ogre and that gets possessed by a demon and takes out his band members. He's yelling at Taylor while he's drumming, saying, you're not doing that part right. You're not doing that part right. And then when he finally gets done with the part, and he stands up and he says, yeah, you're done now. And then he kills him with the cymbal.
So you're saying that they were telling us in the movie, it's plain sight what really went on, but that's what they do, don't they?
Yes. Now, also, I think what he was doing was, I can't say if this was like, I don't like to use the coined words like predictive programming. I'm going to say that this was a strategy of the military industrial entertainment complex. Just like Zelensky, he plays on a show as a comedian. I think it's Servant of the People. And he plays on that show a comedian that becomes an accidental president of the Ukraine. And then what happens? He becomes the president of Ukraine. That's not predictive programming. That is, they're actually strategizing this, and they're using the media as their propaganda tool in order to ensure that their puppet is put in place. Zelensky also did a Beyonce tribute in which he danced in black high heels, stiletto high heels, and black leather pants. And then he had a bolero jacket on with no shirt on. And he and his troupe danced to Single Ladies. And that to me was, Beyonce is an Illuminati queen. She said of a queen, she's Black Boule Illuminati, that he was acceding to the, actually the Black Sun, which is a Nazi organization. And they utilized the airwaves in order to do their Illuminati dances, if you will. And then they're acceding to the Grand Illuminati, letting them know, hey, I'm your puppet.
Absolutely. So what else do you have for us regarding Studio 666 and also Taylor Hawkins?
So Taylor Hawkins had many projects. One of them was called Birds of Satan. That's interesting, right?
Was this another movie? I mean,
this is his project, his recording project. One of them in 2014, because he had many projects. This final project, though, I think he had it because he's always had a bunch of side projects, and it's evidenced in his last debut. Let's see if I can find it again.
But don't people wake up when they listen to these titles of these projects? Don't
I don't know. I don't know if they just think it's all fantasy, that they don't realize that there is a satanic faction that is the underpinning of the New World Order that's running things, or they just fall asleep and continue to be lulled by that, or they're actually motivated by the satanic agenda.
Do you think Taylor was going to expose the New World Order?
No, I don't. I'm looking at his history with these individuals, because he started working with Dave Navarro. Now, Dave Navarro had a very sad past, and he actually appeared on John Walsh's America's Most Wanted. His mother and his aunt were murdered, and so they were trying to find the murderer. And then he basically He has over 93 tattoos that are all Luciferian sigils. And it's funny because when you're looking at the tattoos, they're saying, yes, this is for good luck. No, it's not for good luck. It is a Thelmanite, symbol. They called them, they're pentagrams, and they called them pentacles. And so people are like, okay, it's a pentacle. It's not a pentagram. It's for good luck. No, it's a pentacle is a pentagram. And these are satanic propositions. Also, Navarro, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were involved. I don't know if he was there that evening. They were involved in, and I've written a chapter on this. I've written actually 2 chapters on my blog. My blog is, I have about 34 or 5 chapters. It's SHEPARD, SHEPARD, then the word entertainment.blogspot.com. And that has writings in which I'm trying to unerase myself, because I was in MK Ultra under a project which was called Project Genesis, and the sub-project is Eve, which is a cloning project. But I didn't become availed of that until I was 58 years old. I'm 63 right now. I'll be 64 August 11th. So, that's a long Rip Van Winkle to not know who you are. So I started writing because I am a writer. I've been writing since I was a child. And that's when I started writing my blog. And then I started writing about Hollywood because I was behind the scenes for over 55 years. And my evil brother, John, who was my agent, he represents Madonna, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kanye West, who was actually hooked with Megan Walsh because her baby daddy of her son, Arlo, Warren Trotter, is his best friend. It's, much more in depth than that. And so she started researching these things a long time ago, but she was not aware of how deep this cesspool went until she started getting confirmation from other people about who her father actually is. And so I've been researching her father for, I've been working with Megan 10 months now, and I've been researching her father for, in depthly for those 10 months, and all of his connections, which deal with the mob, with the underworld, with the military, with the presidents. When he presented Megan in front of Reagan, which was 2 months old, Bush, HW, was the vice president. And he was also the head of the CIA. But I found out he wasn't just the head of the CIA for a year, which he received that from Colby. I found out that he actually was in the CIA as soon as he was 18, and he joined the military because he was on secret bombings. And they were going to bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So he had his CIA clearance then when he was 18. So people don't understand. He was literally groomed. He came from a wealthy family, and he was groomed for this position as the president. And then he groomed his son as the president. And then his other son is in Florida, where Megan is. Jeb was the governor for quite some time. But the Bushes all over the place. The Bushes are also involved in activities in Texas currently, and Bush was also involved in the oil business. So, Dave Navarro has now a connection with John Walsh through America's Most Wanted, because he was on there and they showcased the murder of his mother and his aunt, who were shot to death by a stalker that was her boyfriend for a substantial period of time. So at some point, Navarro got, real dark. Flea was also in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he was playing with River Phoenix the night that he was, and I'm going to say he was murdered at the venue. And then also one of the other players, John, I can't say his name right, Friggiante, I think that's how you say it. He's also a heroin addict, and he was in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and he was there with River the evening that River went down. So River had been, doing heroin, and this is a lifestyle for these individuals. Johnny Depp is not a good guy. He's been doing heroin. He spends over $3,000 a month on wine alone that we know. He's in a band called the Hollywood Vampires because he is a vampire. He's singing with Marilyn Manson, who Marilyn Manson was inducted into Anton LaVey's Church of Satan as a high priest. You know, and then you have the allegations that are being perpetrated against him right now, and saying that, yes, by Wood, that's saying that, you know, he indoctrinated her. What they do is the indoctrination is subtle. So when you're groomed as a child, you don't understand what's actually happening to you when you're going into some of these relationships. You don't have a clue until you actually start coming out of MK Ultra and start researching. And that literally is the most dangerous time for the cabal, because they know that you don't know what you know until you know it.